One of the sharpest guys out there, NFL Network analyst, former NFL scout for multiple teams. Daniel Jeremiah also tolerates J-Mac on a regular basis. He's a broadcaster for the Chargers. So yesterday, I'm working out, and, I'm throwing around some weight there, Daniel. And I'm sitting there watching the TV screens. It's Chargers everywhere. I get into my car. It's Charger talk everywhere. And I thought, they made $5 million on free advertising in L.A. It was everywhere. Nothing against Ben Johnson. It wouldn't have led the local news on all 3 or 4 stations. You know the Chargers well. You're on their broadcast. I mean, you tell me the feeling in that building today.
It's pretty electric, man. Everybody's fired up, and they said you could already kind of feel Harbaugh's presence. Just with him being in the building thus far, it's brought an energy and a life to that place. They're moving into that new facility, which will be really, really, first class. And it just feels like this is a kind of a springboard for them. It felt like a move that they absolutely had to make. And, I think one of the things we can talk about on the field and the impact that it'll make, Colin, nobody talks about the fact that, from an ownership standpoint, these franchises, the value of these franchises can be impacted when you make moves like this.
Yes.
Like this is whatever they paid him, which I know was top dollar. They've already put that right back in their pockets. It's a very smart move.
Everybody's talking about it. Now, I do think they lost 7 of their 12 losses were by 3 or less, led the league. So I think this team's going to be very good very quickly. They're over the cap. You're a draft guy. They've got the number 5 pick. They could go with a tight end. They could go receiver. They don't need a quarterback, an edge rusher, or a left tackle. They don't need that. And that's what the draft is stocked with in the first 20 picks. Where do you think they go with their top pick, which, by the way, they can move down and accumulate more picks? What do you think they do?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. When you look at some of the key needs for this team, when you think a corner has to be up there towards the top, defensive tackle is a screaming need. Well, there's not going to be the value for either one of those positions where they're picking at 5. So, it's going to be tricky of trades in this draft just because the depth at certain positions. But you know how it is. Teams fall in love with certain players. And if the phone rings, I would think that would be an easy choice for the Chargers to be able to slide back, get some more picks as they try and, invest in the line of scrimmage, because Harbaugh, everywhere he's been, they've been outstanding at the line of scrimmage. So, at some point in time through free agency and through the draft, it's going to be heavily, offense and defensive linemen.
Now, Justin Herbert last year got injured. What's interesting with Harbaugh, you can't pigeonhole him, nor his brother, as like defensive coach, offensive coach. Because when he was with the Niners, they had 4 top 10 defenses, no top 10 offenses. The Michigan National Championship team didn't throw the ball down the field. What, in your opinion, will he do as a former scout, as somebody that knows this game and watches film? What does Justin Herbert just need infused into him going forward?
Well, I think they're going to ask less of him, and I think this has been kind of a narrative. I've seen this a bunch of, Justin Herbert, get ready. The MVPs are going to start stacking up, with Jim Harbaugh in here at coach. I'm like, no, we've seen this with Andrew Luck at Stanford. Most college coaches would have had Andrew Luck and said, you know what, he's the best player in college football for these 2 years. I'm going to throw it 55 times a game. And he didn't do it. He believes in a way of playing football where you're going to be physical, you're going to take pressure, you're going to relieve pressure off your quarterback. And when you do throw it, you can be efficient and you can be explosive. So I really think less is going to be more with Justin in that regard. And then they've got to clean up. And if you watch their games this year, they had pass protection issues late in games, crucial moments. I think he'll do a really nice job of getting that kind of stuff cleaned up.
Okay, so I want to put J-Mac, him and Brock Purdy. And my takeaway is there are outliers in everything. Kurt Warner, the league made a mistake, but there were some circumstances why he dropped. Antonio Gates, first time I saw him, I'm like, but he didn't play like a college football. So generally, if a guy is drafted low, there's circumstantial stuff. There isn't really with Brock Purdy. He played, he started, he won. As a scout, how do you look at Purdy and his success?
Well, I look at him as going to the perfect spot for, how he plays the game. And, you always, when you're with teams, a lot of times they'll say, hey, If guys go other places and are successful or fail, I really don't care. We are drafting for our team, what we need and how they fit. And he's the perfect fit. He's the perfect fit for how Kyle Shanahan wants to play, where he's going to get you and he's going to put you in great situations where I need you to see clearly and I need you to be able to deliver the ball accurately. And most of the time, I'm going to get you in positions where these guys are going to be significantly open. The thing that was fascinating about last week's game is it kind of turned into a pure drop back game. And that to me is not who Brock Purdy is. I give him credit because at the last drive, he pulled it off and he made it happen. But I thought they put that game a little bit in jeopardy by not running that offense more through Christian McCaffrey in that specific game. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I got Brock Purdy wrong. I didn't see him in any situation being able to play at this high of a level. So I will easily concede that. But I do think it was a perfect marriage for his skill set in this system.
I want to go back to something. Albert Breer said something earlier. Everybody acknowledges Caleb Williams is like a 5-tool baseball player. Outside of a personality conflict, it should work. And then there's a couple of guys that I think are really, really good. Drake May and Jaden Daniels look really good. And then I get some guys that I have concerns. J.J. McCarthy's a little slight. Bo Nix doesn't feel special. Michael Penix injuries. And Albert Breer said there could be a team like Atlanta that's drafting 12, 13, 14, somewhere around the middle, first round, and they just say, we'll just do Russell Wilson. We got all the weapons. We're not paying him. Let's just go get him. We know the top of this draft. I think it's fair to say, and you're a scout, that Drake May and Caleb are pretty high prospects. What about the second group of guys, which a lot of teams just don't want to spend draft capital to move it? How do you view Bo Nix, Penix, J.J. McCarthy? How do you view them as prospects?
I'd use the word intriguing. I think there is things you can love about them. With Bo Nix specifically, he started 61 games, which 5 years ago people would say is a bad thing. Now I think we've seen an example that this is a good thing because you're only going to get maybe 2 years worth of starts before the judge and jury are going to come down with a verdict. So I'd rather have a guy who's ready from game one, to be able to go. And I think he is. He's ready made. I like the fact he's been through some adversity. I think that's a big thing. The comparison for him, here's one outside the box for you, Colin. And we always talk about comps. My comp for him is Jalen Hurts. And think about this. Jalen Hurts was a son of a coach. Jalen Hurts felt like he was in college for 100 years. Jalen Hurts blossomed once he transferred. Jalen Hurts is an unbelievable athlete who's incredibly tough. Bo Nix, you can go back, and I know it didn't go well at Auburn, but watch some of the runs.
He can move.
He is a physical, tough dude who can move. He's 225 pounds. He's sturdy. So, and then the leadership, the character, all that stuff. I don't know too many people when they saw him that was the name that came to mind. But I think when you put all that stuff together, I was like, you know what, I'll bet on Jalen Hurts that he'll figure this thing out. And I would say the same thing about Bo Nix.
Okay, finally, I think the personnel for Detroit is younger than San Francisco, but is not that far behind. I think Penei Sewell could be the next Trent Williams. I think Laporta could be the next Kittle. I think Jahmyr Gibbs isn't McCaffrey, but he's special. I think San Francisco, Detroit personnel is much closer than people think. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is certainly close to an equal to Brandon Ayuk. I don't see this as Niners-Lions. As somebody who is scouted professionally, what do you think that matchup looks like?
It's funny you say that because I said earlier in the season the Lions felt like kind of the 49ers JV team, like with how they've built it. They have all those same pieces. That's what it feels like. And you mentioned, I even wrote some of them down. You've got an accurate quarterback who makes good decisions. You've got a top 5 pick edge rusher from the Big Ten who's an impact player, Bosa and Hutchinson. You've got the 2 offensive tackles you mentioned. You've got run after catch toughness at wide receiver. You've got a tight end from Iowa. You've got a first-round back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Like, they are very similar. And I think people assume when Brad Holmes left the Rams to go take over the Lions that he was going to try and rebuild and recreate the Rams, when in fact he had a front row seat to watch the 49ers in that division, and he tried to rebuild the Niners instead.
Yeah. By the way, minute and a half left. I think the Ravens win and comfortably. What say you?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs have to get turnovers. I don't think they're going to be able to drive, 80-yard fields against this defense. This defense has just choked the life out of everybody. So to me, I think they're going to have to get Lamar to turn the ball over. The one thing about KC, when you watch them, every tackle, they are swinging at the ball. They are trying to get that ball out. They're very turnover aware. I think that's their formula to try and win that game. Colin, as we're limited in time here real quick, can I give you a quick J-Mac take?
Sure.
Quick?
Yeah.
This whole thing with him and Matthew Stafford, I know what this is, J-Mac. I can see through you. You see Stafford as a 3-and-D candidate on your men's league team, and you just want to cozy up to him and get friendly with him because you feel like he can help you chase a championship. Am I right?
Yeah.
We raised the banner tonight. Season opener is tonight. So Jeremiah's timing could not have been better. But no, Stafford is he's too good for our league. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
finally.
He's too good. Yeah.
By the way, he's guarding Mozgov tonight, so we won't hear about it tomorrow.
Jeremiah could hoop back in the day. Big-time AAU player.
One of you two was an athlete. It's not you. All right, Daniel. Good seeing you, buddy, as usual. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.